Battleground, New York City, the fight for your vote. Your front row seat to the battle for New York's next mayor. It's the old guard clinging to power, chasing a candidate they never saw coming. Every night, our experts break it down.
What New Yorkers want above all else is authenticity.
He's been more visible in the Hamptons this summer than he has been on the streets of New York City.
We're listening to the people who matter most, you, the voters.
He is the shining star. He's working very hard. And I think he would work hard for the city, too.
And when the candidates sit across from us, nothing's off the table. What's your plan to make New York City feel like a safer city?
Cupp, that's your perception. Of course, there's a lot of crime.
So what's happening right now? Let's dive in. Welcome to Battleground NYC, the fight for your vote. I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, and we have just 63 days left until this all-important New York City mayoral race. And we've been waiting for this week. Many of our guests and reporters and candidates, in fact, have told us this week, the week after Labor Day, is when the race really goes into hyperdrive. And we are here for it. We've got it all covered. I'm Cupp. Let's get right to it. Later in today's show, we hit some big news with a Democratic candidate in NYC, and we talked to a housing expert about the top issue facing New Yorkers. But first, as always, let's get right to the latest news off the campaign trail. Joining me now, again, is Morgan McKay, political reporter for Fox 5 New York. Welcome back, Morgan.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I got to start with your interaction yesterday with Senator Chuck Schumer at the West Indian Day Parade. We've got some sound and video, so let's play that.
Anything else you want to say about the race and the race for mayor? Anybody else you're concerned?
Hello, I can't even hear you. I'm marching in the parade. I've given you answers to 3 questions. Hello, everybody.
Yikes. All right. What'd you make of that?
So Senator Schumer, I've been covering him for about 8 years now. He's not one to like to take off-topic questions ever since I've known him. But this is obviously very important. He has really been avoiding the New York City press corps since Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary. He used to hold Sunday press conferences every single Sunday, hasn't been holding those. And so when I spotted him at the parade, I grabbed my mic, ran to him, and I was really excited to finally get a chance to ask him about the mayor's race. He obviously didn't want to talk about it. I tried to ask, a couple questions. His person kept putting the bullhorn over me to try to block me out. Really did not want to talk about the Zohran Mamdani issue. And that's when you heard him snap there. He didn't answer 3 questions, but he did say that he plans to meet with Mamdani, but that's something we've been hearing from him since Mamdani won the primary. He supposedly had a conversation with him, won't talk about that conversation, won't say when or if he'll end up really meeting with Mamdani, besides saying soon. So we just really wanted to get more answers about exactly where he stands. But I think it just really shows a heightened emotions around this race and the tough spot that some of these top establishment Democrats are in right now on whether or not they're going to back the Democratic nominee or if they're going to distance themselves from him because he's a Democratic socialist.
I mean, the profiles encourage these are not, right? From Dems who are refusing on either side of the Mamdani issue to say, yeah, he's got my vote, or no, he doesn't. Man, they really don't want to talk about this. Another Democrat who has yet to endorse is the New York governor, Kathy Hochul, and she was also at the parade. You talked to her. What happened there?
Yeah, exactly. And to your point there real fast, these Democrats, those ones that are saying, not sure whether or not they're going to be backing Mamdani, it comes off, I guess, a little harsh by them not even trying to have a conversation about exactly why they're not endorsing him. If you're not going to endorse him, just explain why. Or if you're holding off for now, explain that too. Explain what issues specifically you have rather than running away from these questions. But Governor Kathy Hochul, another one that's kind of towing this line a little bit. She has been saying, that she's been having conversations with him. And yesterday at the parade, she seemed to kind of open this window, maybe not the door, but the window, and say, he's the only one who is talking to me, trying to talk about the future plans that he has for New York City if he's elected. And she said that stands for something, that means something. And the other candidates, she said, haven't reached out to her about that.
Interesting. Well, we know why Cuomo isn't talking to Kathy Hochul. But I wonder why Eric Adams and and Curtis Sliwa, that's interesting, but it's also maybe a way of saying, I'm intrigued, but I'm not there yet. Okay, we'll continue to watch Endorsement Gate. It's such an interesting side story. And every time they don't answer it, it just draws attention to the fact that they're not answering it.
Exactly. And House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries today too. He was just like, soon, kind of like teasing, there might be news. There might be, like, you guys are just making, like, either jump on the Mamdani bandwagon or explain.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's crazy. We've been anticipating this week after Labor Day, when the general election really sharpens. What should we expect now that we're over that hump?
So I think what we're seeing today, a lot of campaigns yesterday, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, he was saying yesterday, like, the race starts today. Nobody's dropping out. We're all in it. And I think that really indicates just kind of where a lot of the candidates are viewing their position. Curtis Sliwa has been out every single day, meeting with people, talking to voters. Mamdani today came out with almost all of the people in the Bronx delegation, Bronx lawmakers, had a lot of hefty endorsements from some maybe more moderate Democrats that I actually personally was a little surprised to see coming out so quickly for Mamdani, like Senator Jamal Bailey. He's seen as someone pretty moderate in the Democratic Party. He was out there endorsing Mamdani today. Then you had Mayor Eric Adams. He was in Florida today. His campaign says he'll be back tonight. They say he's celebrating his birthday. But we're in the middle of a very competitive race. He's polling behind Curtis Sliwa. He's polling pretty much last in this race. So I don't know if necessarily now is the time to be going to Florida for your birthday party, especially after criticizing Mamdani for going to celebrate his wedding in Uganda. But he's not really been around too much, I would say. But his campaign is still chugging along. And then we've got former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is also, I think, just trying out a lot of different things. And we're seeing him just still kind of struggling to gain his footing. But he was also out there today talking about public safety, especially the West Indian Parade yesterday and some of the violence that came out of that.
There's a new video out this month by the National Republican Congressional Committee, NRCC, called Democrats' Project 2026 Agenda. And I wanted to get your take on it. It features both National Democrats and Zohran Mamdani, which is why we're going to take a look at it. Take a listen.
Project 2026. Hakeem Jeffries' plan to remake America. Raise taxes on working families. Impeach President Trump.
Donald Trump must be removed from office.
I'd like to impeach the bastard right now.
Open the border. Restart the invasion.
Abolishing ICE, which I support.
It's about defunding the police.
They riot, they loot.
We are unapologetic about our socialism.
The abolition of private property.
To chip at it aggressively until we can unravel the whole system.
They want to turn America into a socialist, crime-filled dystopia.
We're going to take back America, and it starts today.
Are you going to let them?
You could look at this two ways. One, including Zohran Mamdani, who is not elected to office yet, the mayor's office yet, elevating him to the level of national Democrats, you could say, is good for him. On the other hand, you can see Republicans working very hard on a message that's probably pretty potent with a lot of voters to tie him to the problems that Democrats are having nationally.
Exactly. I think Republicans right now are seeing this as definitely an easy opportunity to latch on to some of his past comments, like defund the police. Although he says that he no longer supports that, he still said it. And that's something they can definitely use, and they will continue to use that in the future and in future elections. On the other side of that, one expert I was speaking to recently about this also said that this is also a sign of how split Democrats are right now. And Republicans, while they might see a weakness in Mamdani and some of those issues, they also see this as potentially an opportunity to expose weaknesses within the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party right now is so split on Mamdani. They don't want to talk about Mamdani. Instead of, like we were saying earlier, instead of just addressing maybe why they don't want to support him right now, what they're exactly looking for, they're just silent and almost scared a little bit, or in Schumer's instance, angry, and don't really want to get to the heart of exactly what issues they might have with him. And so there's, I think, that aspect of it. On the other hand, you're also seeing people like Cuomo, for example, also try to paint Mamdani as an extremist, calling Mamdani his own Project 2026, trying to tie him to extremism. Although, speaking to some experts, that might be hard to do. They were saying it's kind of more of an argument you might want to make during the primary. It's a little harder now that he's won the primary, because now you're almost telling voters that they're uninformed, that they didn't know who they were voting for. They didn't know that he's for socialist issues. And if you look at history, when we look at President Donald Trump, his win this past November, Democrats really tried to scare voters as well with Project 2025, and it didn't work. So I'm not sure if that is the correct or going to work necessarily, but he did have some strong views in the past, and those are going to come back to haunt him and haunt the Democratic Party if they don't try to do a little bit more working with him, or even try to just address his messaging.
Yeah, you have to think, okay, if it didn't hurt him in the primary, the general's where this would hurt him. And, you know, you'd be doing some political malpractice if you didn't really get him on some of these issues that are a little frightening to a lot of voters. Okay, Morgan McKay, thank you so much for joining me and for all your great on the ground reporting. We always love to have you.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Okay, and up next, we talked to a Democratic candidate running in New York City to hold a different kind of elected office, and some big news he just got. Stay tuned. Battleground NYC, the fight for your vote. We'll be right back. And we're back with Battleground NYC, the fight for your vote, where we're following the New York City mayoral election with a laser focus. This race, as you know, is not happening in a vacuum. Dems and Republicans around the country are watching it for the implications it will have on other races. And we introduced you to a young Democratic candidate for the House in New York City, Liam Elkind, about a week or so ago. He's running to unseat longtime Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler. But there's been some news since we last had Liam on. Let's get right to it. Joining me now for the bigger picture is Liam Elkind, candidate for Congressional District 12. Liam, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a minute.
What happened? Big news over the weekend. I can say it or you can say it. Why don't you say it?
You go for it. You go for it.
Okay. Your opponent, 17-term Congressman Jerry Nadler, announced he's retiring.
Yeah.
What'd you think when you heard the news?
I actually thought about the first time I ever cast a ballot. I grew up going to vote with my mom, and the first time I got to cast my own ballot, the first vote I cast was for Jerry Nadler. And I thought about the fact that in his half century of public service, he has been an unwavering champion for working people and for justice. And his example of public service is one that most of us can only hope to live up to. And I thought about the fact that, look, I started this race with nothing. My brother took my headshots. My girlfriend made my logo. I had no idea this was going to go anywhere. A 26-year-old without health insurance declares for Congress against a 17-term incumbent. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. And then in one day, we got 3 million views on our launch video. We outraised the 32-year incumbent's entire war chest. I mean, that doesn't happen. But it was, I think, a national call for generational change, and the congressman answered that call, and I couldn't be more grateful to him for it. I think it is yet another.
He did, but he did. He answered the call. But as you know, I mean, he's saying now he was really impacted by Biden and wanting to see younger people take over. That's a very different message than he had before when you announced your challenge to his seat.
Yeah.
And his press shop was like, Jerry Nadler is not going anywhere until Jerry Nadler wants to go somewhere. It was sort of an indignant response.
Yeah.
What do you think changed between then and now for Nadler?
I think, we were building a lot of momentum. I mean, people were getting excited about this idea that maybe if our country is going to change, our party can change. And maybe we can start electing new leaders with the energy and the urgency and the tenacity and the vision to meet this moment. And so I'm really grateful. Whatever happened in the past is in the past. We're moving forward. And this means that we have a chance to elect a dynamic new progressive leader for New York City at the federal level to move us forward. And I could not be more excited about that. I mean, just yesterday, the former DNC chair, Howard Dean, endorsed me publicly, which was a huge honor and super exciting and shows the kind of momentum that we're starting to build on this campaign.
Are you going to ask Nadler for an endorsement?
I would be honored to have any endorsement from any member of the congressional delegation.
How does your campaign change now that he's dropped out? You're unopposed today at this moment.
Yeah.
Will that be the case tomorrow?
Anybody who wants to get in, come on in. The water's warm. We need more people running for office, putting forth their ideas. And I hope that, most people who get into this race don't come from a traditional political background, right? Aren't a sitting office holder who's planning their next stepping stone in their political career. I hope we get more people coming in who are, maybe come from a nonprofit background, right? Where your mission every day is to wake up and think about how you can make the world a better place, how you can do good and do good well. I think we need more of that, not less. So anybody who wants to get in, come on in. I'm excited to have an exchange of ideas. And I hope that everybody who gets in runs the kind of people-powered campaign that we're running.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting lesson to would-be candidates who might think, well, how do I go up against a 17-term incumbent?
Yeah.
I might not even want to get in that case. Not only can you get in, but sometimes just getting in can be a wake-up call to an incumbent and a party that's looking around and saying, maybe it's my time to go.
I think that's exactly right. I think that we need young leaders across the country to step up and say, you know what, I'm ready to serve. I'm done waiting my turn in line, because waiting our turn has gotten us exactly here, to a broken political system where our representatives don't represent us. And so anybody out there who thinks, if you think you can do a better job, I encourage you to step up. There's nothing stopping you. And as we've just shown, change is possible when you make the case for it. Because the truth is, people my age, we can't afford a home. We can't afford healthcare. We can't get a job. I mean, we are facing down some really rough times, especially with the president shredding the Constitution right now. But if you think you can make a difference, there is nothing stopping you from getting in the fray. And so I hope more people do.
I think more people are, and we've covered several of them on this show. And there's a direct correlation with Saran Mamdani, who also got in sort of unafraid of the fact that it was going to be a crowded field and he wasn't well known. And I don't know that we'll see anyone drop out of this race, but you never know. It's after Labor Day. This is when everything heats up, apparently. But Liam Elkind, you'll have to come back. You'll have to come back over the course of your race, maybe as more candidates get in, and keep talking to us about how it's going, because it's been really interesting to cover so far.
I'd be delighted to. Thank you, Essie. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, okay. Next up, we're going to chat with a housing expert about what I would definitely say is the biggest issue of this New York City mayoral election, housing. Battleground NYC. We'll be right back. We're back with Battleground NYC. And, I just said, I don't think any of our major candidates are going to drop out of this New York City mayor election. And in the break, we just learned Jim Walden, running as an independent, whom we had on this show, effective tomorrow, is dropping out of the race. So more on that over the course of the week. We're back now on an issue that's really important to a lot of New York City voters. That's an issue of housing and affordability. So joining me right now for the bigger picture is Jennifer White Karp, managing editor of Brick Underground. It's an independent digital media website whose mission is to help New York City renters, buyers, sellers, and renovators navigate one of the most complex and expensive real estate markets in the world. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Essie. Thank you for having me. Brick Underground exists to explain and demystify housing, and the mayor's race is keeping us busy.
I could have used y'all when I was living in New York City many years ago, and every couple of years trying to find another apartment to rent, right? Trying to game the system. It is tough, man. It's a tough city to live in. And I think we could all benefit from some terminology help. For folks who don't live in New York City, aren't aware of all these terms, describe for us, what is rent stabilization? How does it work in New York City?
Okay. Well, rent stabilization is New York City's program to preserve affordable housing. The stabilization part of the name is key. With limited rent increases and automatic lease renewals, it prevents renters' lives from being disrupted.
Like every year. So, you'd sign a lease, and if you're not in a rent stabilized apartment, every year your rent could go up, could go crazy up. If you're in a rent stabilized apartment, at least you get a sense that it's not going to completely change your life.
Right. You have the security of knowing, unless you're not abiding by the terms of your lease
Right.
is to be renewed.
And the media jumped on this feud between Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani over Cuomo's comments about Mamdani's rent stabilized apartment. Trying to say, he lives in a rent stabilized apartment, but he has money, and that apartment should be available for people who really can't afford it. Although I don't know that Zohran Mamdani makes that much money to live in New York City. And I mean, there's a whole lot going on in there. And it can sometimes feel, if you're not speaking to a New Yorker, like you're talking in code. Talk about this spat and what the feud is kind of missing in all of this.
Well, what Cuomo got wrong is something that a lot of New Yorkers get wrong. Rent stabilization for the type of unit that Mamdani has is not based on income. Rent stabilized apartments that are available on the market through listing sites do not have income limits. So Cuomo's focus on how much Mamdani earns and how much he pays in rent are non-issues. For rent stabilized apartments like these, it's just a matter of finding them, sending in your application. You just need to get lucky, very lucky.
So what you're saying is there's two kinds of rent stabilized apartments.
Yes.
And they're not entirely the same. One is not income dependent. Anyone can get it. It's like a lottery. You just have to get it at the right time.
Well,
go ahead.
So the lottery is different.
Okay, explain it all.
The housing lottery is for units that are in new developments. So high-end rental buildings with amenities. If the developer gets a tax abatement, they will set aside units for the rent stabilization program. And then those units are available through the housing lottery. And that's where income requirements come into effect.
Yes. Okay. So again, just to clarify so that listeners and viewers are really clear, there's a kind of rent stabilized apartment that is not income dependent. And lottery is the wrong word, but you just have to get lucky for that kind of thing to open up, and you're at the right place in the right time getting into that apartment. The other kind is an actual lottery, and it is dependent on your income. Is that correct?
That's right. To qualify for a housing lottery unit, you need to earn a percentage of something called the area median income. And this is a metric that depends on how many people you live with. So currently the AMI for New York City is $129,600 for a two-person household.
Okay. And so this isn't really a fair attack then on Mamdani, is what you're saying.
No, he kind of cobbled together two of the different programs, and it was a misunderstanding.
Okay. Now explain Mamdani's proposal for a rent freeze. How is that different from rent stabilized apartments? What does that mean? And why are, owners really freaked out about that?
So the rent freeze would apply only to rent stabilized apartments. There's about 1 million of them in New York City. They represent about 40% of total rental units. Every year, the Rent Guidelines Board votes on how much to raise rents or freeze rents. So a rent freeze would take a while. It's not something that happens overnight. Mamdani would take office in January. He would appoint members to the board. They would meet and vote on a freeze, because members are likely to vote the way whoever appoints them, and that wouldn't take effect until October 2026. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight, and there's a lot of pieces to put together.
Nor is it permanent.
Correct. They can vote every year.
Okay, well, there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to housing, so we'll have to have you back. But this was really helpful for people who are just hearing these terms thrown around, rent stabilization, rent freeze. It's a big issue in this race. So thanks for coming on to talk about it, Jennifer. And we'll see you guys here back tomorrow and every day, Monday through Friday, for more in-depth conversation and context and reporting right here on Battleground NYC, the fight for your vote.